Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Views on the News.
Russ was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry on drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys?
This show is the spin-off from Global Atheist News, which is just reporting. Please don't expect me to give any opinions when I'm reporting. This is the show where we have wise and witty panel members from around the world who do give us their views on the news. Starting with David Orenstein. How the devil are you, David? Yeah.
How is everybody?
How is New York? Are you knee deep?
We have no snow where I am, but it is below 0 Celsius, so it's cold. It's cold.
Yes. And is it also cold in British Columbia? Dread, Pyrate, Higgs. How the devil are you?
It's minus 21 or 29 right now.
Wow.
And that's without yeah, of course. Yeah. That's without the wind chill factored in.
Yeah.
Probably minus 33 or something like that.
Wow.
Bloody hell. But you've got sunshine if your photochromic glasses or anything to go by.
Yep. Yeah, we got it's a nice sunny day out there.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to spend too much time outside.
No. I'm privileged because I live in balmy West Sussex where the temperature we've had 2 frosts this winter. That's all.
Wow.
Hmm.
Well, enjoy it. My sister lives in Arizona, and she's always saying, "Come to Arizona," because right now it's like 75 Fahrenheit there.
Yeah, I think that could go too far the other way.
Yeah, exactly. Because in the summer it's 115 or 120.
Yes,
so
yes. People die at that temperature.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So let's hit the show, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
We've got juicy news to talk about this week. So here we go. In 2023, Mr. Salman Momeka, an Iraqi living in Sweden, set fire to a copy of the Quran outside Stockholm Central Mosque. You may remember.
Mm-hmm.
Swedish police had given Mr. Momeka permission for this protest in accordance with the country's free speech laws. Great laws. He carried out a series of anti-Islam protests, sparking outrage in many Muslim-majority countries elsewhere, Iraq among them. In fact, unrest, that's a lovely word, isn't it? Unrest took place at the Swedish embassy in Baghdad twice, and the Swedish ambassador was expelled from the city. They had a diplomatic row, they hit each other with their briefcases or something.
Yeah.
Last August in Sweden, he was charged alongside one other with agitation against an ethnic group, which he is supposed to have committed on 4 occasions in the summer of 2023. The verdict was due to be delivered last Thursday, but it was postponed because he was shot and killed at an apartment in Hovsjo on Wednesday evening. He'd been live streaming at the time. So there you go. The religion of peace rears its head again.
Do they know who pulled the trigger, so to speak?
They've arrested
suspects.
They've arrested 5 people. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, this is just another escalation. I'm not on I'm not a big proponent of book burning in general. I mean, I understand that people agitate this way, but book burning throughout history has shown that the people who are doing the book burning aren't the nicest of people. So I don't agree with that way of agitation. I don't mind being an activist and calling into question the fallacy and the evil of most organized faith. But anyway, certainly him dying is terrible.
Yeah.
I would, if that were the line that is drawn, where you could face being killed for doing something, for that kind of an act, then Salman Rushdie wouldn't have had to be in hiding for so many years for writing. So where we personally may say, I wouldn't be a book burner, but I would write. Well, it doesn't get you off the hook of somebody who wants to take offense to whatever act you choose to do. And certainly in the case of women, them just not being willing to wear a hijab or a burqa or whatever else is justification for anyone that wants to take their religion to the extreme.
Right. If you want to be this is seen, I'm sure, by the people who killed him as an honor killing, just like the killing of women would be. So there's no place for it, because violence. There's just no need for this violence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite clear who the major villains are in this.
No,
I think harming a book is a lot less severe than killing a human.
Absolutely.
And I want to be able to destroy property that belongs to me if I so deem it fit. I mean, I have bonfires, not recently because we've got laws against it now, but in the past, I've had a bonfire in the garden and burnt stuff that I wanted to get rid of. What's wrong with that? It was my stuff.
Yeah, but that's not a political act.
That's true.
Burning your own stuff is not a political act. It's not a form of agitation, because you're doing it in your private residence, and no one, you're not calling, and you're not having a news conference while you do it or something like that.
No, I wasn't doing it outside the embassy, the Iraqi embassy, just to deliberately inflame anger. No, it wasn't. That's true.
Right.
But we had a conversation with my South African pals last night, Tercia and Dean Kruger, who has joined our panel down in that part of the world. And we ended up making mockery of the religion of peace. Dean suggested that it was more likely better named the religion of pieces, because that's what it does. It puts
what they blow themselves up into.
Exactly. Yeah. Piece of you over here, piece of you over, head separated from body. It's just, you've got to laugh, because it's
buildings destroyed.
It's just grim if you don't laugh at it. Yeah.
Right. Buildings destroyed by planes.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on.
Yeah. So here's something that you might like. Here in the UK, the Bishop of Liverpool has stood down after allegations of sexual assault and harassment were made against him. The Right Reverend Dr. John Perumbalath, he's of Indian origin, said he did not want to be a distraction after claims were made by two women on a Channel 4 news investigation show. He claimed that it wasn't a resignation occasioned by fault or by admission of liability, However, in the show, one woman accused him of kissing her without consent and groping her in Chelmsford in Essex when he was Bishop of Bradwell on several separate occasions between 2019 and 2023. And a fellow bishop, a female bishop, also claimed she was sexually harassed by him. Now, back then, when these accusations were made, the police concluded that no further action was needed, and the Church of England said its investigation had found no case to answer. However, we're in a climate in which the Archbishop of Canterbury, which you might call the major force in Anglicanism, one of the big sects of Christianity, has had to resign due to his dubious inaction in regard to a child abuser who was just shifted around the country and allowed to carry on abusing under the Archbishop's rule. And also, we're in the climate when a former Archbishop of Canterbury, Runcie, I can't remember his first name, has also handed his, I don't know what you would call it, handed in his cross. He's resigned from his post as a priest of Anglicanism. He's 84 or somewhat, so he's retiring but early resigning. And he's doing that because he was also implicated in condoning or overlooking another abusive priest. So the whole thing is rotten. In fact, one commenter said that they should all resign because, unless they've been speaking against this sort of abuse for the last 2 decades, they're as guilty as everybody.
Right. They're complicit.
Yeah.
Well, none of these people are the right reverend. They're all the wrong reverend.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah. Do you have any such? I know you've got Anglicans where you are, Dred, and where you are, David. But do you have any? Do you have any discredited ones?
Probably.
Not, I mean, there probably are. I mean, certainly, the Catholic Church has been excoriated many times in the public eye through media and investigations, and the fact that the Vatican has had to pay millions and millions of dollars. But you find this in every faith, right? Judaism and every sect. You get these guys who they have power and they're sexually frustrated, or they're not sexually frustrated, but they have this cloak of authority that they use to abuse women, men, children. And to me, children are, of course, the worst crime.
Yes.
Anybody who harms a child doesn't deserve to remain on the planet, for any length of time, as far as I'm concerned.
So while we're on this particular subject, the Right Reverend, another Right Reverend,
wrong Reverend,
it's like a master's. They have qualifications, and it's Reverend, and then it's Right Reverend, and then I don't know what it is. But this one is a female bishop, Rose Hudson Wilkin. She said that ex-Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, had been chewed up like Jesus was by his critics. She thinks he's had a rough deal.
Oh. There goes the violin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enablers.
Yeah.
It just they're just enablers.
Yeah. So the strange thing is, you said that they have an authority. They also have a sort of purity about them, don't they? The sort of halo.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. You know, they wear the costume. That costume has an identity and a definition and a responsibility. And of course, you know, it's just men in funny robes when it comes down to it. It's like a Monty Python sketch.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't really confer anything upon them.
Exactly.
Their own imaginations, right?
Exactly.
But it may enable them to get into women's knickers more easily.
Yes. And women being afraid to, you know, say anything because of their standing in the church or not wanting to rock the boat. So, you know, these people don't. I'll stop because it just upsets me when I think about this type of sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And all
I was
the
thinking,
while,
you know, just in role play, maybe I should change my my costume from my Zorro costume to a priest costume. And get more luck. Have more luck.
You might get more. You might get lucky.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they do it and continue to be holier than thou. I don't think you get that exoneration, Dread.
No, probably not.
No. Okay, so taking a look at India now, at least 30 people have died during the Indian Kumbh Mela festival, which is held every 12 years. It lasts over 6 weeks. Devotees believe that bathing in the Triveni Sangam River cleanses sins and leads to salvation. On this occasion, in the middle of the night on Wednesday, a group of pilgrims broke through barricades, trampled devotees, killed 30 of them, and injured 60.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good example of religion in action, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well,
it's almost like the cicadas coming out.
Right. But you know, you hear about these pilgrim stampedes when people go, you know, to the Hajj and they want to walk around the block, you know, and people, you know, dying of heat or being trampled. You know, it's the ritual of cultism.
Yeah,
for sure.
If only they knew that there's no evidence for any God, maybe they wouldn't have bothered to turn up and would still be alive.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's in Judaism, what you find is people go to a river and they'll take bread and they'll throw it in the water to you know, get rid of their sins. In Catholicism, I go to my priest and I express there's all of this stuff about, you know, expressing your. So in other words, it's if you like Monopoly, it's the get out of jail free card. You know, maybe actually decide what a sin is and try not to do it, or realize what you're being taught is a sin is probably not a sin to begin with.
Yeah. So on this occasion, 50 million people had bathed in this river by Wednesday. How? It's, you know, it's a massive city's worth of people crowding round a river.
You know, if it was secular, I'd say I'd call it Woodstock. You know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I bet there's a lot of pee in that pool.
Woodstock didn't get 50 million, did it?
No, not at all.
No.
And that was a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Okay, and the next item is a long one. I hope I won't be boring you, but it's gruesome.
No.
This is an ongoing case of abuse since the 1970s. And it started in the UK and it ended up in South Africa. Listen to this. Brick Court Chambers is rated as the second most prestigious barristers' chambers in London. And South African advocate Jeremy Gauntlet called it his professional home in the UK and had a profile on the Chamber's website describing him as among the top counsel in the city. That profile's just been quietly removed. And a media inquiry into Brick Court Chambers this week was unanswered. His career as one of the most high-flying international lawyers South Africa has ever known is over. He announced just last week that he'd been planning to retire, he's 74, after what had been a long and fulfilling legal career, and he would be doing so immediately. But what has actually ended his career is a credible account of teen grooming and sexual abuse that was revealed by a Witwatersrand University academic. And the paper in that part of the world has seen an email that was sent by Counsel Gauntlet in 2022 when he acknowledged the validity of the account of this sexual abuse. But he hasn't replied to emails this week. The dark story began in the UK in the 1970s, and it was about sexual abuser John Smyth, a well-known figure in the UK, charismatic and prominent lawyer who used the rest of his leisure time to groom teenage boys using Christianity as his cover. But the author of this book that is recording all of this gruesome story, a chap called Grayston, says it was not the conventional sort of sexual abuse that people might imagine. It was something much more complex. Smyth would have his victims enter a shed that he used specifically for the purpose. Inside, he would strip them naked and savagely beat them with a cane while demanding that they prayed out loud. While he beat them, he would often groan with ecstasy, and the beatings could last hundreds of lashes. When it was finished, Smyth would embrace them from behind, nuzzling their back and kissing their neck. The blood would be flowing down his victims' legs. Smyth would then apply lotion to their buttocks and give them an adult nappy to wear under their clothes so the bleeding wasn't visible. One victim had a beating that lasted 12 hours. Oh. And another had to wear adult nappies around the clock with thick black trousers to disguise the seeping blood. Smyth only groomed sporty and good-looking boys who were ones that he gave Christian ministry to, and he beat them as a punishment for a whole range of sins, but with a tremendous emphasis on masturbation, which Smyth encouraged his victims to confess at length. One boy attempted suicide on the eve of a planned beating, unable to handle the torture anymore, but equally incapable of seeing a way out. Early on in his career, Smyth's actions became known to the leaders of the Church of England. This was revealed in a report known as the John Smyth Review by one of its names. And although he was not ordained in the church, he was a high-profile member of an Anglican parish in the Diocese of Winchester, where he counseled young men and had been trained and licensed as a lay reader. By the end of 1982, he carried out much of his abuse at a holiday camp, which was set up to train attendees, including the future Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, to become leaders in the Church of England. By the end of 1982, at least 27 adults in the UK had a clear-sighted view of what he was doing and decided he had to be shipped out. The knowledge that he would almost certainly continue his abuse wherever he landed up seems to have been less of a concern than the reputational liability he posed to the church while in the UK. So, with the encouragement and financial support of church figures and rich barrister colleagues, Smyth went off to Zimbabwe for 16 years, where he abused an estimated 90 boys. Then he went to South Africa for his final 17 years of life, and we still don't know how many boys he abused there. Sorry to regale you with such. I should have given you a warning about, this contains information which sensitive people might not want to hear, but it is so.
No, but you have to, it has to be documented and has to be talked about, because otherwise they get away with it. The church, whatever religion, has too many foxes in the hen house. And this is what they do. They groom and they destroy lives.
Yeah. And, for someone to be so psychologically damaged to endure a 12-hour beating or allow themselves to be subjected to it in some way, they had to have, consented at some level, right? That's almost worse than the beating. Quite frankly, the psychological damage to a person, I think, actually outweighs the physical thing. The physical thing is just a very outward expression of what has gone on inside his head to allow that to happen.
It's a sign of,
No, I'm sorry, please.
Sign of early indoctrination, isn't it? And there's many other victims of that than there are victims of this sort of beating.
Yeah. And the sad thing is that what these people are constantly doing is robbing innocent people of their childhood and damaging them for the rest of their life. And some of the reaction to this abuse, whether it be physical, sexual, psychological, is that these people, some of them who are themselves victims, begin to victimize other people.
Yes.
Because that becomes their way of expressing guilt or love or whatever.
And just trying to work it through.
Yeah. And people who, it's like, what do they say? Taking an apple from a poisonous tree, and it becomes your identity. So who knows how many more people have been victimized because of the victims of this one guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I want to leave you with a slightly better thought.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, which is that the Archbishop of Canterbury is ex. The Bishop of Liverpool has resigned in disgrace. And the former Archbishop of Canterbury has handed in his medals, or whatever you call them. So, maybe they are beginning to get some sanctions themselves.
Yes.
Any final words, guys?
I'm going to throw myself out the window right now, so I'll.
Please don't.
No.
We want you in this show.
Yes, of course.
So I've been working on something here as a pastafarian,
Yeah.
and it's going to be actually based on Martin Luther's 95 Theses. We've got 40. It's a different thing. I'd like to talk to either both of you or John about having a more detailed sort of reveal of what this is going to entail.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we could book you up for an hour,
What's that?
couldn't we? When you're ready, let us know. When you've got the material and you're ready to speak about it, let us know. We're always looking for guests, not victims. I nearly said victims.
Okay, yeah.
We're always looking for guests for the Free Thought Hour show.
Sure.
Next week on the Free Thought Hour show, in fact, we've got Nuria Khan. David, you will know her because she was a speaker on camera at our event back here in the summer.
Yeah.
But she's coming on Free Thought Hour next Saturday because she's very much in favor of my Break Free campaign. Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about my Break Free campaign, but I've recently had an article published in the Freethinker, in which that's mentioned, and of course we launched it at Hitchmas before Christmas, and I've now got some music for it. I don't know whether I can. No, what I'm going to have to do is change the brand. Then I will be able to play the music, which I now use as an outro. Take a listen to this.
Oh, we want to break free. Yeah, we want to break free.
Any good?
Yeah, it has that Electric Light Orchestra groove to it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's Queen. It's meant to be redolent of Queen, and this is the logo. This is the
I saw the
badge.
logo. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's great.
So the thing about this campaign is it doesn't identify any religion, so it can't excite any offense from partisan faith heads.
Don't be too sure.
and it does unite non-believers, because the one thing that we do agree about is it's stupid to submit to a non-existent deity. Why? Yeah. So that's our campaign. That's what we're trying to.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
Good. Right. So I hope you're going to be on board with that. And thank you very much for taking part in Views on the News.
Good to see you, Dave.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
Dred, take care, man. Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
Be well.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry-on drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that guy?